Today in the masterclass, as food is this magic potion to healing, really how food actually is the catalyst to heal. Well, it assists your body in all the healing processes. So, just like the watch, you've heard me maybe say it before. If one part of the watch doesn't work, guess what? It's out of whack, it's out of balance. You cannot possibly get the right time. Well, the same thing works in your body. If one system is off, whether it's digestion, whether it's hormones, whether it's circulation or your muscular cell skeletal, all of it is causing you to have an imbalance in your body. And when that imbalance happens, we can't work at our best. And so here's a perfect example for many of you that are new to just understanding this healing process. I love sharing it. So as a special ed teacher, I love, being able to show you in all modalities. But so here are the villi in your small intestine. In your small intestine, this is where we get our nutrients. And they're these little, I call them sea anemone villi. Well, when you eat, let's say gluten, as one of the inflammatory notorious, foods that affect us, this is what happens to it. And so we're all smart. We understand that when you eat it, you eat the gluten and these villi that can no longer help you assimilate your nutrients, we're malnourished. And when we're malnourished, stuff happens. And the imbalance creates even bigger problems. And I call it this domino effect. And this domino effect is when one system is off, then the next system is off, and the next system, and the next system. And symptoms happen. You'll get symptoms like, oh my gosh, bloating after you eat, gas, diarrhea, joint pain, headaches, migraines, anxiety, panic attacks, brain fog, fatigue, sinus congestion. You can tell this list is like endless, you guys. But even chronic earaches, and our skin is the largest organ. It's the best way for it to say, stop what you're doing. I got a rash, I have psoriasis, I have eczema, all of it. And then of course, the added weight gain where you can't like lose 5 pounds even. And so this is what I call this layering, and our body is really good at telling us what it needs until we don't listen. And so that goes into the prevention. And so this prevention of, well, what happens next? Maybe you get a new diagnosis because you're not paying attention to your body's chronic symptom. And the doctor says, well, here's a pill. Or you're fine. It's all in your head. It's not. Chronic symptoms are not normal. Not normal for you, not normal for your kids. So if you have kids with runny noses and I was a special ed teacher. So if there's behavior problems, mood disorders, all of that, there is most likely, I'm going to tell you 99.9% that food is the culprit, whether it's sugar, whether it's any kind of inflammatory food like a gluten or dairy. And oh, by the way, at the villi, this is my favorite part, you guys, is that at the tip of the villi is where we assimilate our dairy. I don't know about you, but how many friends go, no, I'm not gluten intolerant. It doesn't bother me. I'm just dairy intolerant. So at the tip of the villi, if you eat dairy, what's gonna still happen? It all works together. It's beautiful how our bodies work and can heal. And so basically, after this layering effect, what happens is more dis-ease takes place and your body just screams louder and louder until you pay attention. So now you have an autoimmune disorder and it's like, now what? The doctor says, okay, so you have an autoimmune. You have Crohn's. This is what just happened recently with a client of mine. He's 30 years old, almost 30. He literally was having severe flares and a severe condition where it involved his elimination, and his elimination was very scary, and he needed to go to get a colonoscopy. And he started working with me. He's in a 6-week program with me. Within a week, the symptoms started lessening in severity. In 2 weeks, it was completely gone just by changing his diet. And so when you have an autoimmune, your body, it loves you back. And so not all foods are created equal. And knowing what works in your body is actually the best mode of your healing. Any questions so far before I move on? How are we doing? We're good? Thumbs up? All right, I only see one face. So, okay, good. Thanks. Thumbs up. Okay, so next things. Which foods are healing for you? Well, guess what? We're all different. Even the greatest of nutritional foods, really nutrition rich foods, can actually wreak havoc on our bodies. And so what happens? Like I mentioned before, the chronic symptoms happen. So a typical good looking food is our nightshades. Nightshades are tomatoes, potatoes, eggplant, and peppers. We know peppers are like rich in antioxidants. Eggplant is delicious. Tomatoes have lycopene and all this great stuff for us. Potatoes, like, they're just comfort food. Hello. Who doesn't want mashed potatoes, right? Well, what happens is that your body looks at it. If you already have an autoimmune condition, or even you don't know that you have an autoimmune condition, it's considered an inflammatory food. And you can get a headache, you can get rashes, you can bloat, you can do all the things that I mentioned before. And a lot of people eat a lot of tomatoes, eat a lot of peppers. The client that I mentioned before, he lived on peppers. He loved peppers, so it's those types of things where you get to actually understand by knowing which foods work best in your body. So after that, let's look at the steps. What are the steps to feeling better and transforming your body, your mind, and your life? Literally, in days, you will feel incremental changes, like I said before, around my client, and the changes are huge. So, number one, your first step is learn which foods work best in your body. Number two, cook more, eat out less. And three is to do a cleansing with food anti-inflammatory reset. This is probably the best question. It makes me cry because this is how I got my kids and my family to stay on the program. I said, look at, and they were all diagnosed as middle schoolers, teenagers, young teens. And I said to them, I said, you have a choice in life. No one's holding you hostage. It's simply a choice. And what we know about autoimmune is that you have a 70% increased risk of a disease, whether it's cancer, heart disease, diabetes, name them all. And then you have all the autoimmune conditions that just kind of continue to rise, whether it's Hashimoto's, whether it's Crohn's, whether it's lupus, Epstein-Barr, name it. And I told my kids, I said, look, I'm going to cook this way because I am no longer going to play Russian roulette. We know what happened to Nanny and Poppy. I personally have, a double whammy. And I know that genetics play a role, but genetics don't determine your outcome. When you live a life that is helping your body live your best life. And so from the reset, what people learn is that, wow, I didn't even know I could feel this great, right? Isn't that what happened to you? Even your kids, you have teenagers, they're like, what the heck, mom? This is good for me? This chocolate almond smoothie or this, stir fry, any of it. It's like, it's a choice that we make. And if we know for sure, like you can take a test for $250, know for sure if you have a gluten intolerance. And I can share that in the link. It's Entero Labs. And you can get yourself tested. And if you really need that to put that mental, like little chip in your brain, then you do it so that you know for sure. that you're playing Russian roulette and you have a 70% chance and a 30% chance you won't. But I don't want to live in fear. I want to live in love. You know me, guys. I am I'm all about the joy. I'm all about the love for our bodies and our health and our well-being. And now I'm really into brain health. And we know that the gut is directly linked to the brain. And I want to, I have the Alzheimer's genetics, but nothing's turned on because of my lifestyle.